What is forgiveness, and how can forgiveness help us to live a more fulfilled and abundant life? The Buddha once famously said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Now, to understand why forgiveness is so powerful in life, I think it helps to reframe life for what it really is. You see, everything in life is energy, and we ourselves are also energy. And within that energy is different vibrations. And our emotions themselves are vibrations. So certain emotions like fear, hatred, etc. resonate very low on the vibrational scale, whereas emotions like love and peace and joy resonate very high. And the idea is that the higher a vibration, not only the more peace and joy it makes us feel inside, but also the more power we get and the more abundance we attract, right? So one way to look at this is like if you've ever been having a bad day and you're just feeling awful and it seems like you just keep having bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. What's happening is because your energy is in so much resistance and so much negativity, you're actually attracting these things to you. And alternatively, if you're in a really great mood, you're feeling love and peace and joy, you'll notice that you'll start to have a lot of good fortune. People that you haven't seen in a while will start to reach out to you. You'll run into people. You'll get that job, or synchronicities will start to happen. Your intuition will start to become more powerful. And that's because everything at its core is vibration. Everything is energy. So going back to why forgiveness is so powerful, if you look at the opposite of love, which resonates very high on the vibrational scale, we can look at emotions like fear and hatred as very low and very damaging to ourselves and to others. And when we're holding on to resentment towards someone, the anger that we feel towards them actually just sits inside of ourselves. And it starts to manifest in our life. We start to become more angry at people. We start to become more angry at ourselves, at situations. And this anger starts to really damage us from the inside. It damages our frequency. Another reason why forgiveness is so powerful, I think, is because we are very social beings and relationships are extremely important to us. And naturally in relationships, there's always going to be issues. There's going to be people letting you down. So if you don't understand the power of forgiveness, then what's going to happen is you're just going to hold on to resentment over the course of your life, and you're not going to forgive people. And so you're going to lose trust, and you're going to hold on to things for far longer than you should. And that's why I think that resentment and anger is one of the most destructive emotions, because it's so common for us to just hold on to it for so long. So how does one go about actually forgiving someone and living in a state of forgiveness? The first thing to understand is that we as humans are just simply humans, right? So I think of it like the bee analogy. If a bee stings you when you're walking down the trail, you might feel anger for a second, and you might avoid the trail that you're walking on in the future. But you're not going to hold a personal resentment towards the bee. Why is that? Because when you look at the bee, you just see the bee for what it is, a bee. You don't see this creature that had a personal vendetta against you. And when we look at other people, we seem to think the opposite is true. We seem to think that people have these vendettas and people are conspiring to hurt us and to damage our egos. But if you zoom out and look at the situation for what it really is, humans are the same way as bees. We have our own emotional trauma, our own mental illness, our own difficulties in life that distorts our vision and makes us do things that aren't really based out of love, aren't really based out of caring for others. And it's really not people's fault for the way they act. And I know that's something that's really hard for people to grasp, because we want to hold on to these resentments as if they're valid because people should be acting a different way, But really, people are always just acting in the way they've been programmed. They're acting in the way that they think is right in the moment, or they've simply given up their powerful nature and bought into a lie that they're not powerful enough to change these things that they hate about themselves. There's so many reasons. So when you are able to look at the situation and look at the person that's hurt you with a clear lens, then you start to see the situation for what it really is, which is this is just a person, just like this is just a bee. And when that happens, what happens is a sense of compassion will naturally arise because you'll be looking at them more clearly. And this compassion that arises is in fact the antidote for the anger and the resentment. And once the compassion arises, then we're free to start letting go of some of this anger. And we're free to start to forgive this person. And I think that a big criticism of forgiveness is the idea that if you forgive someone, then you're somehow going to get walked all over again. But this isn't really true. Just like with the bee, if you get stung by a bee and you're in the woods, you can forgive that bee for just being a bee, but that doesn't mean you have to keep walking past the beehive, right? Now you're smart enough because you've experienced the situation to know that that situation is no longer good for you. And in fact, I would argue that if you held on to resentment towards this bee, it's probably just going to make you more likely to run into the bee again, right? You're going to go out of your way to get revenge. Whereas if you just forgive the bee and let it go, now you can just see the situation clearly and avoid the beehive in the future. The same thing's true with people. So again, the reason why forgiveness is so powerful is because we are highly social creatures and all relationships are imperfect. And because so much of our well-being and emotional joy and happiness comes from when we're around others, if we hold on to resentments towards others for every little thing they do without forgiving them, then that starts to build up. And you'll see this in your life. If there's someone that you're particularly angry at right now, I urge you to just try this. Try to forgive them and then realize that you're not helping them by forgiving them. You're just helping yourself. You're clearing a burden within yourself. And I think you'll quickly see a lot of joy and happiness and peace become available again that was suppressed because of this anger. So it's a really powerful technique that I encourage everyone to try.